Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So we now move on to section 4, subpart 3, which is conducting the usability test. How do you actually conduct a usability test? What goes on? It's a whole set of protocols that you need to know and follow to the best of your abilities. So what and how of usability testing? To put your design early into minds and hands of users. As I told you, that is the whole goal of usability testing. So in order to do that, we understood that we work with early prototypes. And what do you do as far as the mechanics of what goes on? You pretend, right? You pretend the actual context and the activity from your scenario. So if you remember, like in that corporation website, we had the person is very interested in knowing if the corporation has some ways of advising him about renewing his license for his restaurant, or if it has the ability to advise him in order to form some kind of support communities in his local area. So things like that. Let's say you would bring a participant in, you would tell them that now I would like you to imagine that you need to renew your hotel license. Can you tell me how you will do it? So remember, again, it was about performance and not about preference. Can they do it or not, right? So you pretend the actual context and activity from the scenario. So that's where you tell them, imagine that you are in this situation, right? And evaluate against the benchmark performance. All right. What is benchmark? If you remember the example I shared with you about the product that was to be designed for setup by consumers in their homes. So instead of a service person instead of a service person traveling to the user's home and setting it up for them, we were designing it to be a self-install. And then we went through the entire analysis of who is the user and what might their criteria be. They may be a small business owner, so therefore they don't have time, they're wearing multiple hats, etc., etc. So based on all of that, we had defined an acceptable setup time of 15 minutes. Okay, that is our benchmark. Okay, is someone able to set it up in 15 minutes or not? If they're taking 45 minutes, which is what our first version of the design took, it's not acceptable. It's not going to work. So went through, if you remember, 3 iterations, and in the third iteration we managed to bring it down to 15 minutes. The first one took 45, the second one took about 25. And in the last iteration, we were able to bring it down to 15 minutes to complete that particular task. So that is the benchmark. So any of the tasks, any of the activities that you set up, you must have a benchmark in your mind. And as you come to know your users, you will be able to identify that on your own. Otherwise, speak to your client in terms of getting their perspectives as well as to what is an acceptable benchmark for people to perform or to use the design or to do this particular task that you've created. Understand how good or not it is. Understand how good or not based on what the users, again, performance was. Performance. Not based on their preference. Okay, understand how good or not it is. So when we were creating an app for a library, we had set up like about 9 tasks, right? So in the first version, users were only able to complete about 3 of those, and the rest they couldn't. That was a benchmark, that users have to be able to complete all 9 tasks. They have to successfully, and the reason they could not is because our design was not up to the mark. And then through revisions, got it to be better and better. So that's another benchmark. How much can they complete? How many errors are they making? Okay, if out of 5 users, 4 of them can't even do it, then that's the benchmark. It's unacceptable. So based on that, understood how good or not your design is, and then iterate, refine, iterate, refine, iterate, refine. So as I told you, your cycle goes something like this, until your design becomes just what it is supposed to be, or as close as possible. You may not have the time to go all the way, at least get it to here. Don't leave your design like this with all these problems, okay? Now, in the video that I showed you by Steve Krug when he was, testing that participant for usability, you saw this piece of paper in his hand that he was waving, and he kept calling it the script, right? So there's a script that we follow for usability testing. Why do we do that? Because if we go empty-handed in front of the user and then expect to test them, I'm sorry, it's going to be a big waste of time. So you need to have clarity, just like I mentioned to you during user research as well. The amount of what you will get out of it will be based on how well you prepare for it. In this particular case, it's even more important because your product is part of the way there. You're looking to get feedback on it, and you want to know exactly how the user is navigating through that product. So therefore, it's very important that you stick to the script and remember to say all the things. It's not just about sticking to the script, but it's remembering to say all the things that need to be said. And that is all difficult to remember. So therefore the script, like, what do you say in the script? First thing, you introduce yourself, and then who you are, and then introduce the project, right? We're working on a project in which we're trying to understand how people are able to select menus from a collection or whatever it is, right? So we are working on so and so project. So first thing, introduce yourself, say who you are, then introduce your project, that we are working on a project that helps you navigate to your through your walkway in your city much easier, for example. So we are working on so and so project. Next thing is, I will show you our design idea and ask you to use it. I will show you our design and I'm going to ask you to use it. This is all happening before you show them the design, right? I'm going to ask you to use it. As you use it, please think aloud so I understand. We'll speak some more about this think aloud protocol, and you may have seen it in the video as well. Please think aloud. You're asking the user, as they are working through this, you're asking them to tell you what is going on in their head. Again, that is related to mental model. They are telling you what's in their head in terms of what they were expecting, what they are confused about, what they didn't make any sense to them, and all of those, right? So please think aloud. Think aloud is a protocol. Then to tell them that we are not testing you but our design. We are testing our design, we are not testing you. Remember, you also have to be sensitive to these things, that you need to be telling your user this because people feel very uncomfortable if they're working on something and there's someone watching over them, right? It's not a comfortable feeling for someone to be watching over them, which is exactly what you're doing in usability testing. So make it very clear to them you're not testing them but the design, and there is no right or wrong answer. Your responses will help us improve our design. The focus is on the design, it's not on you. You are going to help us improve our design. And there are no right or wrong responses, as I just told you. If you have questions, like they asked in the video, I don't see anything, do you, is what he said. And if you remember, the moderator didn't answer him, right? He said, just do what you would do. So if you have questions, I may not tell you at first, but I might ask you what your answer may be. Okay? So I will not give you the answer, but I might just ask you, what do you think? If you had to make a choice, if you had to do something, what would you do? Right? And if you also remember in the video, right at the beginning, he showed him the entire, the first screen, first thing that came up of the application, and he asked him, see what you make out of it. So that is also one of the most important things when you have something in front of the user, or you're showing them, let's say that tea making machine, or that ATM example I showed you. So when you look at it, what is going on in your mind? Before you give them any instructions, find out as soon as they see it, what is the reaction they feel. And very important to say, at any point if you feel uncomfortable, please tell me. Uncomfortable in the sense, remember your designs are very half-baked. So they may be in pretty bad shape. Some of the things may be buggy, and buggy is not the thing. Some things may be very difficult to use. So, but if you insist that the user must finish all the tasks and they're really sweating and uncomfortable, that's not nice, right? So if at any point you feel uncomfortable and don't wish to continue, please tell me. So this is broadly what needs to go in your script. This is broadly what you must tell the user when they are sitting for usability testing. So I'm going to show you a video now.
To support a good cause.
So this is a video on the Think Aloud protocol. So this video, just listen to it and you'll see some movements on the screen. There are no people in this video. You'll just see what they're doing. And what you will get to experience is what this Think Aloud protocol sounds like.
What I want to find out is what this organization does. The first thing that catches my eye is this section here. There's steps for something, but I'm not sure what it's for. So I'll go up here and take a look at the topics. These options don't really tell me much more about what this organization does. The need maybe has to do with regions that have needs. I'm just guessing, I'm not sure. So let's go to About Us. Maybe I'll find something in there. This image, maybe this organization is about feeding children. Let's read further. I like these two short paragraphs. Although this first paragraph really doesn't answer my question. Okay, it's not until the second paragraph that I find out what this organization does.
All right, so that was a quick video that showed you about this Think Aloud protocol. And I think there are a couple of things that you probably did notice, and that is, in the video, you can see that she was wanting to know what is this organization about. So she said the first thing that jumps out at me is those 3 steps. But I'm not, there seems to be a procedure for something or a step-by-step something. But she said, I want to know what this organization is about. So she wasn't able to figure out. Then she went into About, and then she read the whole thing, and finally in the second part of the paragraph, she was able to find out what the organization is about. Now, in a usability test, remember, people will do this because you're asking them to do it. But in reality, that's probably a good indication for the design team that particularly an organization like this that is trying to project itself outwards so that people are attracted perhaps to donate money to the organization, then that was not a good thing. What your organization is about is probably one of the most important things for this kind of a company, which wants to project to the people what they are about, and so that people would perhaps donate. So let's look at Think Aloud protocol. Basically, it means asking test participants to use the system while continuously thinking out loud. It's as if, you know, there is a microphone inside their brain, right? So it's projecting out all the thoughts that are going on in their head. So while continuously thinking aloud, that is what Think Aloud protocol is. Why does it work? Because it's very cheap. You're not having to do anything additional, just asking the person to speak. It's very robust. It really works. If you can get the person to speak, and it may take a little while. There are some people who don't speak as easily. There are some people who, speak a lot. Obviously, the people who speak more are much more helpful in a situation like this. But you may have to, the quieter people, you may have to remind them 2-3 times, and then they get used to it. It's a very flexible system. You know, you can stop it and talk to the person and all of those things. It's very convincing because the person is telling you, it's coming out of the horse's mouth, and it's very easy to learn. Anyone, if you tell them, anyone sitting in a participant's seat and told that I would like you to think aloud and tell me what you're thinking, tell me what's going on in your head, tell me when you feel confused, tell me when you are not sure what to do, they will tell you. It works very well. So it's a very robust and very cheap protocol. Okay? All right. Now I would like to speak to you about the usability lab. So a lot of usability testing is done in a usability lab. What is a usability lab? For those of you who've seen these police shows and all, you can see sometimes where they have a room with a one-way mirror where people are on the other side. They can look through it, but the one who is on this side is not able to see them. So that's a one-way mirror, right? So usability lab is exactly like that. So this part is a one-way mirror, and the participant is on that side, and the people who are observing and monitoring the test are on this side. And the reason to have this one-way mirror, as I told you, when people are observed, when they are being watched, it's a very uncomfortable situation. Okay, so therefore, to give them a sense of comfort, even though they are in this situation where you're observing what they're doing, it's a good idea to give them that space, right? The second reason is that all the other people in the room, let's say it's the design team, let's say that there's a pretty big design team, they can all assemble in the other room and they can talk to each other. And as the user is going through different things on the design, and they're getting insights about the design, or they're getting strong feedback, etc., they can be discussing with each other, making notes and all of those things, right? So this is how a usability testing lab is typically like. You would have a testing room and an observation room with a one-way mirror in between. So on the other side of the one-way mirror, you are expected to be quiet observers. So this is another picture of the same thing. You can see there's a lot of equipment over here, recording equipment and all, and the testing is going on in the other side. So this is a usability lab. And this, remember, I was telling you about a large design team. So this is an example of a very large design team that is observing the test. And they have several monitors, and on the monitor what they're seeing is the same thing on the screen that these guys are seeing, is the same thing that the participant is seeing. So everything that the participant does, they are able to see. And obviously this works really well for interactive products. And you can even have a lab like this where there's a feed into a large monitor that everyone is looking at together. Okay, so that is a usability lab. Now, Can you not test if you don't have a usability lab? Absolutely not. You can see this is an example of usability test in a large classroom setting with many people in there. Of course, it's a friendly group and it's people that you're reasonably comfortable with, but it can be done. It can still be done. And in a usability lab, you get the best conditions to do this, but you can also do it outside. And the important thing is, to give the person the instructions and then tell them that, tell me what you're thinking. And what you find typically is people get so involved in the task. They are trying to complete tasks. They are trying to set an alarm, or they're trying to calculate their mileage, or they're trying to, pick an item from a menu, or whatever it is. That is the task that they're trying to do. They get so involved in it, oftentimes they don't notice, all the other people around them, provided the rest are quiet. You can do these kind of testing at where the user is. So this is for that project that I showed you, which was based on creating a platform for craftspeople, right? So this is where our design team, this is a member of the design team who's the moderator. He's created his paper prototype design, and he's taken it to this craftsperson, right? And he's trying to do the design over there. Likewise over here, when they moved, the design moved from paper version to a digital version, its next revision or the third revision, then they took it again to a craftsman and then tried to have them do the tasks that were designed on the system. Here's another example, and you can see that this is, of course, a make-believe situation where on the board the dashboard of a car has been drawn, and what is being tested is the car entertainment system, the car radio, and basically the entire music system. And there are various cards, various pages, sheets that have been put, and the user is pressing buttons on paper to show what they're pressing. You can see there's a camera recording over here. So one of the important things suggested and advised things to do is to record your usability test. You will invariably not have captured everything that's going on while the user is testing, even though you would also have a note taker here, just like when you were doing in your research, but it's very hard to capture every single thing live. So you may very likely want to go back and look. So therefore the video camera is very important. And using quick prototypes, as I told you, they can be done in various settings. It doesn't have to be a room or a lab. Here there's someone doing a usability test at the Starbucks. This is quickly setting it up in someone's office or home. So it can be done in other situations as well, but it's important for you to know what is the purpose of a usability lab and what it does. Now, let's speak about the questions, right? Asking better questions. You will get what you ask for. You ask better questions, you will get better answers, right? So, is this report screen okay? You have created a design and you're asking the user, is this report screen okay? Most likely, what would the user say? Yeah, it's okay. What would you have learned from it? Nothing, right? They'll say yes, or it's fine, it's okay, and not really. How could the report screen be more useful for you, right? If you ask it in this way, you're much likely, you're opening it up to get a much more insightful answer. Did you find everything you need? Yeah, maybe what the user will say. Why did you consider this product today, right? Why did you venture into looking at this product today? Okay, so the questions that you ask are extremely important. Think carefully, just like in your research, and even more so in this. Think carefully to what questions you have to ask. Okay? Now let's look at what tasks are, right? So this is the earlier prototype that we saw. It's a Wellesley Foodie Rescue application, and we saw it in the context of a paper prototype, and I shared it with you as an example of how with paper and an overlay you can show a sliding screen, right? Now what is this application? It is meant to help students see menus easily and provide a more satisfactory comment procedure, right? Now let's look at some of the tasks on this that were designed. You're telling the user, you've gone through the script, right? The initial protocol. You've told them to think aloud. You've told them that this is not about you. We are not testing you. There are no right and wrong answers, and all of those good things you've told them. Now you're saying that now what I would like you to do is, it's almost lunchtime after you've explained this. It's almost lunchtime and you want to see what's being served, but you also want to eat with your friends. Can you tell me how you would go about it, how you would do it on this app? And please please point on an area of the screen to show me what you would do. Okay, that is what you would tell them. So this is the first task you've given them. The second task is, you just downloaded the application and you know that you will only eat at the Lulu or at Tower. This is the two places perhaps, because you live in Tower. You were showing your friend the app and she deleted Tower from the view. She is panicking. You tell her it's okay and bring Tower back into view. Okay, can you show me how you will do that? You're not asking them, do you like this design or not? You're saying, can you show me how you will do that? So again, we are gauging the user's performance, right? Not whether or not they like it or not. Doesn't matter. Third task. It's now after lunch and you're in your room procrastinating. You decide to check what's being served for dinner around campus and coordinate a dinner date with your friends, right? So you want to know what's being served for dinner around campus. So probably there are 2 or 3 different locations. You want to know what's being served at each of them. And you want to also coordinate with your friends and say, hey, let's all eat together at this so-and-so place because this menu sounds good. Okay, that was your third task. And your fourth task is, you are looking at Tower's menu and are confused as to why they have apostrophes on tacos, and you want to ask them, right? Does that mean that it's not real tacos or whatever it is that are going on in your mind? But you're looking at Tower menu and you want to ask them why they have put apostrophes on the tacos, right? So when you are testing participants with these tasks, you just give them the task and then you keep quiet. When you saw the video in the morning, you noticed that in the beginning he was speaking a lot when he was explaining the protocol, when he was giving the initial script and all of those things. However, after that, you must have noticed that he kept very quiet. So that is what you need to do. Once you give them the task, be very quiet and just let the user do the talking, let the user think, give them space and time to think and consider, give them time to frown so you can see those frowns, and then you can ask them, you know, I noticed that you're frowning. Can you explain to me whether something bothers you or something confused you? If you ask them, they will tell you. If you don't ask them, you will never learn. Okay? So this is what tasks are, right? And you need to look beyond. You have done due diligence with your script, you've done due diligence with your tasks, you've taken notes, you've recorded and all that. You need to look beyond. Just like what I mentioned to you a moment ago about the frown. You know, if they're frowning, try and understand. Try to see the thought balloons forming over their heads, right? You can make out that they're thinking. You must know what they're thinking. Don't give them hints about what to do. You have to control yourself. which sometimes can be difficult, and that's another reason why we have the entire team in another room, because sometimes they just cannot control themselves. They're so deep into the design that they will blurt out the answer. So don't give them hints about what to do. Let them work with it, let them try it out, let them ask questions, and they will probably ask you, is this the way it works? Don't answer that as well. Tell them that, what do you think? What would you do? Right? And then, of course, in the end, you can answer. And of course, if they're struggling too long and too much, stop it. Cut it out. If they're struggling beyond a reasonable point, you know that there's something wrong with your design. Keep instructions simple and repeat them. Okay? Look around the page and tell me what you think everything is and what you would be likely to click on. Right? This is one of the most valuable opening lines. The first thing that the person sees, and you tell them, look around the page and tell me what you think everything is. At that point, you're not giving them any more instructions. There's no questions, no task, nothing. Just look at it and tell me what you think all of these things are. And what you would be likely to click on is the, if they don't understand, they start clicking. They will try this, try that. So what is that you need to know? Tell me what you would click on next and what you expect you would see then. So once they click, and you're so thrilled if you're the designer that if they've clicked on the right button, you're just excited that when they move to the next screen, you're just busy with seeing what they're going to do next. Are they going to get it? Are they going to get it? That's what you're thinking, right? But before you get into that, when a new something comes up, a new instruction, new screen, new error message, new whatever it is comes up, just take a pause and ask them, is this what you expected to see? And before you move them, to the next screen, if they tell you, I would click on so and so, ask them, what do you then expect to see? Before you show them, okay? Before you show them, ask them, what would you expect to see when you click this? Then you get a clarity of their mental model. And once they have told you what they expect to see, and then you show it to them, and then tell them, is this what you expected to see? Okay, so it confirms to you both of those things. Try to think out loud as much as possible. You may need to remind your user 2 or 3 times to think aloud, because people forget. It's not a natural thing that we keep talking aloud when we're doing something, right? So that was about conducting the usability test, the mechanics of actually conducting the usability test, and the different places and ways and contexts in which we can conduct the test.